In this video, I will be sharing my thoughts and what I got at the Chicago Pen Show 2025. Hey everyone, Kat here. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel. The ones that recently just subscribed to my channel, thank you ever so much. One more step to that 1,000 subscribers. 5 or 6 years in the making, but hey, I'm here, you're here, let's enjoy. This was my very first pen show ever. It took me 4 years to get to the Chicago Pen Show. The reason why is in the very beginning of May, in the last 3 beginnings of May's, life got in the way. Or as my friend Stephanie of Stephanie Makes Stuff says, life just is extra lifey. So I made a point to block this particular weekend this year so I'd be able to go to it. I did go on the very last day, and if it's your very first pen show, I would not recommend that. I would recommend you to go through the hustle and bustle of the Saturday. This pen show is actually 4 days long, and I didn't want to go on a Friday. I should have gone on a Saturday. If I go back again, that's what I'm going to do. That's where a lot of the people that I follow on Instagram was there that day. There was a lot more hustle and bustle. While I was dutifully swatching the 300 inks, that's right, there was 300 inks to swatch. In the corner of my eye, in the smaller room where there was a lot of vendors, there was a few vendors I didn't go to yet because tables were already crowded. They were packing up. And this was about 2:30, and the show technically did not end until 4 o'clock. And when I finished, I went upstairs, and other vendors around that time, 3 o'clock, were starting to close down, which was a shock for me because I have sold art in person myself, and every event I've been to, indoors and outdoors, saying you're not allowed to start shutting down until like a minute after closing time. So at 4:01, 6:01, 7:01, you're not allowed to close down. Even when we're at the farmer's market selling our lemonade, we're not allowed to start shutting down, even if we don't have any customers at all in the last 5 minutes, until after 12:30. So that was a little disappointing to me. This was a lot different. I didn't take any video because I just felt awkward. I think if it was a lot more crowded, like at the Stationery Fest, then yeah, I probably would have grabbed my GoPro and just went around and showed you everything. It is a mix of the traditional pen shows, a lot of older gentlemen with their pens out, selling them, trading them, talking about them, and then there were a few of the popular brands like Esterbrook, Pilot, and other brands I never heard of, but they looked really fancy dancing, way above my pay grade, that were selling them. There were a lot of people that were starting out, or I'm sorry, not starting out. They have their own company. I didn't purchase one, but one of the shops was Zodiac. Let me see if I have they had kind of a cool one. Bart Connor of Let Goes to Treasures. He had a collection of pens that were Zodiac. The colors were connected to a Zodiac sign. I did stop by Pen Realm, Kurt Spear. Awesome, awesome guy. I was totally fangirling at the Stationery Fest. Stumbled over my words. But when I saw him at the pen show with his cowboy hat, you could totally tell he was in his element. And I felt a lot more comfortable approaching him, and I'll tell you the reason why, that I shopped at his shop. There was a couple other people. This was I'll show you in the booklet in just a second, but Lemur Inks, they were there. And then I got to get one from Andorilium Inks out of, they are in Florida. So I'm going to show you my inks. No, I'm not going to swatch them. No, I'm not going to ink up my new pen that I purchased. That's going to be a separate video, but I will tell you all about that. But let's start with when you get to the place. Truth be told, I thought it was going to be a lot larger. They were in a large ballroom. Then they had people outside of the ballroom in, I guess you'd call the sanctuary. You go downstairs. This was at a Hilton. They go downstairs. Then there was a tinier ballroom. I don't know where the classes were held. They had a couple classes. None of them tickled my fancy, so I didn't sign up for them. And then there were vendors outside. No, I'm sorry. Only outside of the main ballroom. And then downstairs, there was the table with all of the inks, 300 inks. So my main goal there was I wanted to purchase some inks from my ink friend Eric, who runs a stationery shop called Amarillo Stationery. That was on my list. I went to Kaleida Craft because her 3D printing was on my list. And then I made sure that I stopped by Inky Converters. Angela's book was on my list, the sticker book, which I'm going to explain in a minute. Also on my list is that I stopped by the Chicago State Calligraphy Collective. Kristen, who's known as George Mails Arts on Instagram. We've been chit-chatting over a couple of years now on Instagram. And so I got to meet her in person. And since I'm talking about her, let's do that first. Chicago Calligraphy Collective was there, and they were giving away free bookmarks with your name on it. Well, I happened to go on Sunday, which was May 4th. And if you're a Star Wars fan, you'll know what that. Everyone would be like, I wore my little Baby Yoda backpack. I know that's not his name, but for this instance, that's what we're going to call it. So people would come up to me and say, oh, may the Force be with you and stuff like that, or Happy Star Wars Day. She had the alphabet for Star Wars. And so I could have gotten it beautifully done in Kristen's beautiful calligraphy handwriting, but I couldn't resist. So this is cat and Star Wars language. So that was a lot of fun. And this was a freebie that they were doing there. So let's start with when you, as I said before I go into anything else, when you get there, it wasn't very big. There wasn't a line to get in to it. There were people with lanyards. They're the ones that bought the whole weekend or the whole. I got a little tag thing for my wrist to know that I bought, because it was so different many places, to know that I was a paid customer instead of like someone at the hotel going, oh, what's going on? I went, and at the table I bought my ticket, which was only $10, very easy on your checkbook. But then Colorverse, they went into a collaboration with them. Has anyone have Colorverse inks before? I have another one that I won in a contest a long time ago, but check the inside of the box. How fun is that? I don't know if the camera's picking it up. So Colorverse made this is the 45th pen show, believe it or not. And they made one called Windy City Blue, which I'm going to swatch in another video, but this is what the bottle looks like. And it's 30 mLs. And I know I'm not going to use all of it, so I'm definitely going to make some samples to send to my stationery friends that who use fountain pen ink, either to write with or to make art with. So we're going to move that to the side. So I had to grab one of those. And then at Atlas, you go, and they were doing a bingo card. I don't know if anyone follows Atlas, but Brennan and the other people were showing on their stories of, if you come by, you'll get a sticker. So I thought it was just going to be crazy, uber crazy and packed, but I was wrong. Sunday, I think everyone was probably pinned out by then, so a lot of people left. So I was able to get this, and this is a really cool one. I do not know who the artist is behind it, but it was really cute. They put the storefront Atlas, which is near the L, and then they showed some of the other famous sceneries that you get when you go to Chicago. Let's start with that. I did use my traveler's notebook that I took to the Stationery Fest. I just did a couple stamps in there when I went to paper and pencil, and then around the booths, like Pine Berry had one, and then Soft Paper had one. And so I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to let this go to waste. So I got my ink stamping set out that I purchased at the Stationery Fest. It is by Well Appointed Desk. Best $20 I've ever spent in my stationery items. And I stamped it up. And then I kept some pages in the back blank. And I'm like, oh, I'll be able to do 300 inks in this, no problem. I'm glad I didn't stamp it all up because I wouldn't have been able to. And I'll show you for why. I'll be posting about here what the inks look like. But it was 3 very large stands of just pens that they put together, numbered. And then they had these sheets of paper that had the numbers and the names of the brands and the names of the colors. So I didn't start for number 1 because there was a lot of people there. So I started at 300. And so I just went and I would write the name of the ink. And then I would write, all of them were samples. But I wrote the brand, the color, and then I did a little swatching and then sometimes a little writing. So let's start from here. And I did all of these. And there's some that I never heard of. Monte Verde is a brand I've never heard of. If you've heard of that brand, please let me know. I even did a page where in case I try out pens, you know, and it has the 1.1, broad, medium, because those are the 3 nibs that I like. But I never did. I was gun shy to try out pens until I bought this one right here, which I'll show you. So then I realized I'm not going to get 300 inks just using these stamps. So wherever I had extra paper, I had it. So let's just start from the beginning. Let's see. So when you see the numbers, that's where it was. I didn't do it in numeric order, and believe it or not, I'm okay with that. I thought I would kind of freak out that it wasn't in numeric order, but when in doubt, just try it. This is from the Stationery Fest, but here we go. Here's some more of them. Some of them I didn't really like. Some of them are like, okay. I learned a new thing because some of them, depending on the pigment in the ink, they kind of got stuck in the feeders. So for example, let's say this was the pen. They had some little glasses of water and all you had to do is like drop, you know, dip it in the water real quick and that got the ink flowing again. So that's a hint from me. Did not invent it, but I learned about it. There were 2 inks though that I wanted to get, but I could not find them anywhere. And one of them was from Colorverse and it was called Glouten. Gloun. That's really olive yellow green. I thought was really, really pretty. And let's see, what was the other one? Schrodinger's. Named after Schrodinger's cat experiment. I'm trying to get it. There we go. That was a really pretty green also. That's also from the, I just moved it, the Colorverse. But there was one that had a very long name. There was some people that had notebooks and they were doing that. It was dot grid, so they just did one line across. They did a little scribble of it and then they wrote everything. And this one lady that I chatted up, she goes to all the pen shows, and so this wasn't something new, like brand new. She says other pen shows do this, but it was brand new for this year in Chicago. So I'm really glad I was able to experience that. I'm trying to find the very long name. You ready for it? Number 142, Heritage Spider Metamorphosis Web Gray. Then there was another one. Some of them did not work at that time when before I learned about the water trick. So I just kind of wrote a little note about that. Oh, it must be in the front here. Let's go back to the front real quick. It's a really long name, and it was funny because every time someone would start swatching that one, here it is, they start laughing, and so then it was kind of like a table joke. Queen Alexander's Birdwing Butterfly Green. So it's just like very long name just to say green, but you know, can't judge it. That's what they wanted to name it. That's what they wanted to name it. And I think that might be the Anaryllium. So that's what I did for this. But that ink I was just telling you, Anaryllium, which will be another video. I'm going to do all the swatching. Flapjack Octopus Orange, and they're from Tampa, Florida. And they were vending themselves. It wasn't like, you know, another vendor like Atlas or someone else doing it for them. And check this out. I don't know, has anyone used this particular brand before? This is completely new to me. It's 1.5 ounces. Look what they use. They use jelly jars. I just thought that was clever. That was very unique compared to the bottles that people usually use. And it's this. It looks a little darker here on the photo, but it's just this reddish, oranges, bright orange, just a happy orange. When you see it swatched, you're just like, yeah, that makes me smile. But how clever of them using a jelly jar to house their inks. So since we're talking about inks, let's go to my stationery friend Eric's shop, Amarillo Stationery. It's a Latin American owned stationery in Chicago. I was able to meet him at the Stationery Fest, and I bought one of his inks. If you go look at that video, you'll see that ink. And he has a total of 4, and one of them didn't speak to me, and he's really cool about it. It's like, so I got 2 more for my collection. I love the names that he gives the inks. This one's called Teal Waistband. And this is what it looks like when it's swatched. And the other one I got was Urng's Kicks, U-R-N-G. So sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. And this is what it looks like when it's swatched. And I really like the drawings that he does. And then when I show you my sticker book, I did get some stickers from him also. All right, so let's go back to Atlas Stationery. And that was in here. I totally went back. So as I was telling you before, they had a bingo card. Well, I didn't know if they're going to run out, and they didn't. They had plenty of them. But I didn't know how I was going to journal with this very large paper, so I shrunk it down before I went to the fest. And so I did. Right here is my bingo. And one of them was meeting the owner, Brandon, his grandmother, who goes by Mama T. And if you say hello to her, you get a sticker of her sticker. And I don't recall if she was wearing these on her legs, but she had her Cubs hat on, Cub earrings, and then she had a vest that had Cubs on it. Wonderful, wonderful lady. It was wonderful chit-chatting with her and meeting her. And then I got some of the other things, and then I got Brandon's nickname on Instagram or within his family is called Hollywood. I was in another part of the show, and I guess he was coming from a meeting, and I said, Mr. Brandon, to get his attention, you know, being polite. And we were able to get a selfie together for the bingo card, but then also, you know, for me to scrapbook about. So I'm definitely going to print that out and put it in here. There were some tables that had stamps, like at the Stationery Fest. I got this idea from my friend Tera, who just brought, she loves the passport size of the traveler notebooks. And so she brought one of these accordions to the Stationery Fest and got all the stamps, and I'm like, I want to do that too. So a lot of people used it, and I didn't realize it because then I would have angled it. And you know how like when you use stamps, let me show you, because I've done it myself, but then I'm really careful when I stamp it now. but you know how you get it on the ink on the wood part? So that's what happened here, because I've used it in the store before and it didn't come out like that. So these are some of it, like Lemur Ink had one. Inky Converter. These are stamps that she sells and it's an oil base. I didn't purchase any of them since I already had my stamp set, but she says it's an oil base so you can stamp it and then you can swatch right over it and it won't smear. There's a pen called Skogsky, Skogsy, and I think they need new ink. Esterbrook was hanging out with Atlas, and so I got their stamp. The guy did it instead of having me do it, and so I guess he didn't realize he had it upside down, but that's okay. This was a vendor. I did not purchase a pen from him, but a lot of the acrylic pens seem to be very popular for independent artists. He said he went to the show, you know, like a regular Joe, and then this year he came back as a vendor. So I thought that was pretty cool to learn about his story. And then here's Eric's from his. I got this at the Stationery Fest, so I just wanted it again. And then Zodiac Company, besides giving away their sticker, he had this lovely stamp. And then let's see, As the Pen Turns, and then Caroline Pen Company, and then this one was at a thing. So I have plenty of room for other stamps, going to other things, and then of course I have the back side of it. So Tara, thank you so much for that idea. All right, since we were talking about Atlas Stationery, I do not use a lot of Howland's products, the Monster or the Coffee Monster Co., but I wanted to be a cool kid. And Tara gave me a swatch of her washi, which I'm enjoying using. I understand the ooh and ah of getting a new pen and stuff, but I saw the pen in person and it just didn't talk to me. It was neat to see in person, but I've seen a lot of people with these blotter papers, and I'm like, well, they're sold out everywhere. Why not? You know, I'm here. So this is what they look like. You get 2 sheets of this, and these are perforated, so you could probably use it, you know, like for the for the passport size for blotters. And then, let's see, you get that, and then you get 3 large ones. So this is one of the large ones, and then there's this one with the Esterbrook companies on it, and then the pen that everyone was going after, and then this one. These are really cute. I think I might laminate this. It's like the perfect size for an A5, and I could use it then as a writer board. I think I'd get a lot more use out of them, especially these 2 if I made them into writer boards. All right, let's talk about Inky Converters. Angela is the artist, and I purchased a few things from her. I saw her story about her newest pen. I have it on my thing here. I think you can see it. It has glitter in it and it moves around, and this was based on a sticker that she made. So here's the sticker and here's the pen. She did have the Sakura one. I did buy that sticker, which I'll show you in a second, but I really like this one since I like the moon. So I put it on my strap that I use for my pen bag. And then this is an A5 sticker book. I have the Traveler's Note size ones. Let's move this up a little more. There we go. I have the Traveler's size one, reusable. Took me years before I got one. Now I have 2 of them, and I love them because you can stick all your stickers in here. Even if you don't take it with you, it's just a great place to have your stickers. And I saw her advertising this one, so I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna get this one. So this is an A5, same design on both sides. Here's the Sakura one that she had also, and then she has that in a pin, but I really like the moon one. And so those are those, and I've already put other stickers in here. I did try to use my stamp on it. This Oh, and this is the other one I got from her. Isn't that cute? And so this is a slip. So I'd advise against trying to stamp your name on it. If you want to like label, hey, this is mine, I'd do like a, an address label and then write on it. So I'm showing you this first because these right here, I wasn't able to get at the stationery fest because they were going so quickly. So at the pen show, I was able to get these. These are from the Amarillo stationery. This horchata reminded me of the Mexican grocery stores in Arizona. You go in and they'd have horchata and all these other drinks, and they would ladle it in the cup for you. So yummy. So just real quickly, these are just different stickers I've put in that I got these from my bestie and from other artists. And what sold me on getting this one, so like, well, I already have 2 sticker books. And then you guys have probably seen this in other videos. This is one I got from a thrift shop, which is kind of like a personal size. Why would I need another? But what sold me, she says she really likes this size for the larger stickers. And I've been losing stickers like this. I buy them, they get lost in the studio. I don't know if that happens to you. And so I'm like, you know what? That's smart. So I went through my Chicago Stationery Fest, which I haven't put together yet, and I started putting all the stickers in there so I know where they are. And a book size like this, it will be really hard to, misplace in my studio instead of a bunch of loose stickers. So that's what I did. And I still have room for some more, and then once I use them, obviously you put them in. So this was a great buy. Now we're going to go to Kaleido Craft. She is on Instagram. She has an Etsy shop. I found out about her because the show was showing, their vendors and what they're bringing and stuff. And so I've always wanted a holder for samples. And I was just going to get this, but then I saw this. And this is a 3D printer. I don't know if the camera is picking it, but listen, like, that's all those layers. And you could kind of see it. I don't know if the camera picks it up, but through the light you can see each layer. And what's really cute about this is that she was selling these little critters. And she put a magnet on, is it the other side? What's this side? Oh, here. The keychain will do it. She put a little magnet right here, so if you had one of her critters or something else, you could like decorate it with it. So I got this one, so I'd have 5 at a time, and then I couldn't pass this up. She did have a couple other cute ones, but this is an ice cream cone. This reminded me of mint chip ice cream. Also, it's the size, if you're not into inks, you can put a lip balm in there. It's the same size. This is that. And the last thing I got, I missed out on her clicker. She had coffee cups. They sold out Saturday. Sold out. And these sold out really quickly too. There was only about 4 left. And I saw this with the yellows and oranges, so I got this one. And I mean, look at the details she did. Not just the nib, but she has that part of it. And just so cute. And so I'm adding this to my fidget collection. I don't know if I will ever leave my house, but I really like it. I stopped by Kurt's booth called Pen Realm, and he had spots for people to sign up to get their pens fixed or the nibs, manipulated however. And he and I were communicating through Instagram. He did have a real cool nib that was carved. This part had the bean. If you're not familiar with Chicago, it's called the Cloud Sky, but we nickname it as the bean. And so it was carved right there. I'm like, would that work with my Twisbies? And he goes, no, it would not. Sorry about that. I said, but I have I said, would it work for an Opus 88? He goes, no. I said, do you happen to have nibs that would fit an Opus 88. It was a very thin, extra fine nib. I won this Opus 88 from a stationery store on Instagram, and I barely used it because it was so thin. To me, and don't come after me, if you're an extra fine person, you know, when it comes to your writing utensils, go for it. I just can't stand it. So he goes, well, I have a broad nib. So for $20, and he put it in for me, you know, he exchanged the whole thing for me. I got a broad nib, and it writes so much better. I did a little sample ink just recently. I don't think I'm going to have to get it adjusted or anything. So now I'm excited about being able to use this. So thank you, Kurt. And his staff was very friendly, and I went back a while back later because everyone was shutting down, and I was starting to freak out. I'm like, oh, great. And I came across these spiral notepads, and what caught my eye is that, sure the camera picks up, look how tiny that grid is. But check this out. It's glued on one side. This is a Midori one. Oh, there we go. It's glued together so you don't have it flopping around. And I don't like using these because usually, you know, all the papers are flopping around. And so it even shows you right here how to use it. What's that? And then I went, no way. And so he had 2 of them left. And he was selling them for $5 each, which I thought was a really good price. But here's the barcode and everything. There we go. If you want to copy that down to check out, if you can see if you can find them. And I did the little, what is all of this translation means, and I guess it was like best product in 2019. It won some award. So I got 2 of those from Kurt's booth also. Alrighty. So the majority of the time was me doing all those swatches, and at the very end, when I was freaking out, everyone was packing up, and I'm like, oh, I just finished my first year of grad school. I deserve something. I don't know if you're that way, if you accomplish a wonderful task. I think my stationery friend Greg of Stationery Shenanigans does that. He treats himself when he makes a milestone in his studies for his PhD. This company was outside of the big ballroom in the corner, and it was run by these 2 gentlemen. One of the names is Gavin, and it is Hardy Penwrights. They are on Instagram, and the 2 of them were lovely people to talk to. I did talk to some of the other people that those cards I showed you, and they gave me their spiel and stuff, and I held their pens, and I'm just like, it's just not talking to me, you know. And especially when it comes to something like this, if you're new to fountain pens at all, my suggestion is go for something a little more inexpensive, like a TWSBI, or even something like this. This is from Right Stuff or something, you know, just something basic to get used to using it before you spend the big dollars, like getting an Esterbrook or something else. So anywho, I always would go up to the vendors and say, tell me about your pens. And you could tell this was their passion, that they loved making the pens. It's a pen family. I'll give you more details when I ink this up, but I just wanted to show you this. And what caught my eye was they had them in different groupings, and this was under the Traveler. I kind of spin off on that. I was thinking, oh, the Traveler notebook, Traveler, oh, Doctor Who. So they told me about this one, and I have renamed it. And it's originally known as the 10-T Traveler Oily Banana, but I'd like to present to you Miss Opal. Now, it doesn't come with this, it was stuck down in here and it was really hard to get out. So when I got home, I got a piece of ribbon so I can do this. Right now it's staying in this case until I get my new pen cozy. So originally named the Oily Banana, but I named it Miss Opal. And I caught my attention right away because of the opalescence, and it reminded me of my October birthstone, the opal. And they said, and I'm like, oh, that's really pretty. They go, well, hold it. And I'm like, oh, okay. So what they do is that it's a threaded holder, instead of like, clicking on and off. It threads, and I immediately went like this because that's what I do with my Twisbies. They go, no, it doesn't do that. I went, oh, sorry. This is silver, and it's their emblem. Oh, there we go. But it's also a roll stopper, so it won't go anywhere when you put it on your desk. And I'm like, okay, that's clever. A lot of the other ones that the booths I went to, they didn't have something like that. They might have had a clip so you could clip it onto something, and that irritates my hand. I don't like clips on pens. So I'm like, okay, that's a sales point for me. I did pick the broad nib. I think it was Gavin who was trying to get me to get the 1.1, and I did try it. Here's the 1.1 nib, and then here's the broad nib. And I had a hard time. I don't know if it was being left-handed or not. He says he likes using that particular one for his drawings, but this just ran so smoothly. So I got the broad nib in her, and also it includes a converter. So if you're not familiar with pen shows like myself, it was like this in the case. They had it all lined up, but then they have they have the nibs that they will put together for you that has, this is in it too, obviously. So they have this is separate, and then this is separate. And so then what they do is they will put whatever nib you pick in it, and then they give you an ink converter. And this is, oh, there's a name on it, Schmidt. I don't know how much ink, but that's a lot of, quite amount of ink that I'll be able to put in there. So this is Miss Opal, and I just finished my first year in grad school, and I'm like, you know what? I deserve a little treat. So I have 2 more years, so I might just purchase 2 more pens from the Hardy Pen Rights after each year. So we'll see. So that might be one reason I have to go back to the pen show next year. That is it. Let me check my list here. I made a little list. And yeah, so those are the things I got on at the Chicago pen show. There were other things going on. There's people that I follow on Instagram that they came together as a group. Would it be a lot more fun going there as a group? Absolutely. So that might change my mind of going again if I'm able to go with other people that enjoy looking at pens as much as I do. Until the next one. Bye.